Hello, everyone. We are live.
You said it. You didn't let me say it. And we are live.
Yes, welcome to this Saturday edition of the Weekly Roundup. But yeah, I am Michelle.
And I'm Natalie the Red.
And we are Force of Light Entertainment. Well, we were, obviously we do the Weekly Roundup every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I was out of town for work this week. And because of that, well, I wasn't going to do anything, but then it just kind of felt like more and more news kept coming out. So I was like, you know what? We might as well just go for it on this Saturday morning. So we'll see how many people are actually up and can join us eventually as it gets going.
We're in it to win it.
We are. So we have a very special guest. He was with us the last Wednesday we did this, and that is Matt, who is AKA a common idiot. Matt, how you doing?
Good. How are you ladies doing? Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, especially on this Saturday morning.
Yes.
That's why.
Well, I don't like to waste my Saturdays. Sundays, say I'll stay in bed all day, but Saturdays I want to be up and about and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that we don't. This is kind of not our normal time, so we'll see if some people find us as it gets going. But let me say hello to who is in the chat. Oh, and thank you very much to the Wake Down for the $2 super chat. Heading into work, but sure, it'll be a great show. We appreciate that.
Much.
And to our awesome moderator, Marcos.
Hey, Marcos.
Hey, Marcos. Let's see, Rick's Comic Books and Video Games. Hello to you. And hello to our friends from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Ro.
Ro.
We know who it is. And hello to Daryl, the derelict. What a name. I like it. And to our buddy Bob, Dan, our good old buddy out in Greece. Always nice to see you. I guess it's late there. It's not early there. So, but
It's chill time.
it is. But yeah, welcome to everyone who is joining us this morning. There's been some big news to talk about, but before we get into the news, I want to talk about this past Monday we finally got Gina Carano. Oh, and hello, before we get into that, hello to our friend Ash in England. But we want to talk about, just for a couple minutes before we get started into the topics. So Matt, we were talking backstage. You did see Gina Carano's episode of Running Wild with Bear Grylls, right?
Yeah. It was awesome. It was such a good episode.
It was. I genuinely, I've never watched that show, but I watched because of Gina, and I genuinely really enjoyed it. Of course, she had to go up and down the mountain in Italy because she's scared of heights.
Me too.
He makes them conquer like their fear.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tough one.
Oh, so what was the worst thing? What was like the worst thing, Matt, that you were watching? You're like, man, I would hate to do that. Out of everything she went through.
Probably the maggot pizza.
Oh, it was so bad.
That's something I wouldn't want. The rest of it, I was like, man, I would love to experience that. But the pizza, yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. I wouldn't want to eat that at all. Was it sawdust dough and the maggot cheese? Oh.
Maggot cheese. And I heard maggot cheese is legitimately a delicacy in certain places.
Ooh.
Oh, it's like that. So the maggots in it, they like, did he say it ferments the cheese?
It ferments the cheese because the maggots are in it.
Yeah.
So it's intoxicating as well.
I don't know if it works that way. I don't know how maggots do that.
I have no idea.
Scarif says we don't have maggot. Thank God you don't have maggot pizza in Chicago.
The way God intended.
Might be a health hazard if they did. I would just
they would shut them down that day. Oh gosh, that was the one thing I cringed on. And you're right. Okay, he literally took her down the biggest drop off a cliff he's ever done in the show's history.
Oh.
And it cracked me. She actually did a really good job of not cussing, because I can admit she was in some situations that it would be a mixture of praying and cussing.
Oh yeah. It would have probably been every other word for me, especially when you throw that level of fear involved and whatnot, and kind of lack of control, because you can't control, because that snow was so loose and they were fear of, possible avalanche, all kinds of stuff. So Yeah, I would have been throwing him out every other word probably.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I say I only like she was literally in the situations where you almost can't control what comes out of your mouth because you feel so out of control that it's just kind of coming out like whatever. Because you would be so afraid.
I mean, I wish I didn't do this, but like if I drop something or stub my toe, it's like OSHIT, or like it just comes out before I can even like process it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean,
Second nature.
Yeah. It is.
But she only said they only had to bleep her out one time. So she actually did really well.
That's hard.
I can only imagine what other unedited stuff is there. But,
exactly.
But yeah, she did way better than I would have. The whole show would have probably been bleeped out. So.
Oh my gosh, because like there were so many times that it was just so like I couldn't do it. I just would have been frozen in fear. Like there's just no way. And then the one time she actually almost cried was like the maggot pizza. When she put it in her mouth, she goes, "Oh!"
Pretty
she puffed it out. At first, she was like, "Okay," and then as soon as she did it, and then I think it processed and realized what she did. Oh man, that was gross. Yeah.
But when he opened the cheese, Natalie, they were just there. They were moving around.
They were alive.
Oh yeah. His comment was, "Make sure you chew them, right? Because you don't want them coming out." So that was the thing. It's like, that's what you don't want to hear that right before you. I mean, I guess it's good piece of information, but still not something you want to focus on, I guess. So yeah, it was gross, but I guess you got to do what you got to do when you're there.
Yeah, it was definitely gross. And one of the phrases, and I'd have to go back to my Twitter, but something Brett Grill said about her, I think is just so true. At the end, he said her vulnerability is what makes her a champion. And it's just like, you see that in Gina and in the interview with Ben Shapiro and this, like I was saying off stage, like, I think she is one person, like what you see is what you get. Like she can't even be fake because it's not in her to be. Like she just is who she is. And
right. And this might sound cheesy, but I think it's like, I think being vulnerable, it requires a lot of strength.
It does.
For any of us.
Absolutely. Especially in today's world with how people pick you apart and take, I mean, to me, she just seems extremely genuine. And like you said, or like Bear Grylls said, you have to be aware of your own vulnerabilities to better yourself. Because if you're not, you can't ever make progress if you don't. And she does that all the time. I mean, throughout that episode, she openly admitted that she was scared of things. All her fights, she would go into them kind of scared, but still like, I'm scared, but I'm ready. You know what I mean? To take it on. So that was it was very impressive just to see that the Shapiro interview, it all aligns. There's no, it's all the same person. You're not dealing with a fake. Right. Sometimes you could tell when they're fake, and she just seems very genuine.
She does. And he brought up, it's a quote that I've loved, and I'm about to botch it, but it's something like, courage is not the absence of fear, but you may know the rest of it. Courage is not the absence of fear, but basically,
it sounds familiar.
But basically, it's like being willing to like go past your fear. Like it's still there for no matter who it is.
Yeah, it's not like it's just you're courageous when it's gone and you do something.
Exactly. Hello, Cher Bear.
There was a quote that I always it always stuck with me. It's like real warriors feel fear, just say F it. So and that's
basically what we're saying.
Yeah. So mine's just a little bit rough around the edges, but yeah.
Yours is the soldier way of saying it.
It's what you embrace it. You say, F it, and kind of you gotta do what you gotta do. So
yeah, but I love that episode, and I was so excited that it's okay. For starters, when the ratings came out, and these ratings will keep going up as people are able to watch it on demand and or buy it on iTunes, Hulu, Disney Plus. I think it's 2 weeks later. Oh, yeah. There we got. Courage is not the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. Yes, that's the quote. But so these ratings will go up. But as of like this week, her Running Wild with Bear Grylls episode, it had higher ratings than the NBA.
Yeah. And that's the crazy part is it wasn't advertised. It wasn't anything. It's not like they did any promotions. This was all fans that promoted it on Twitter and her following that did this. So I think that kind of leads into what our other topics that we're going to be talking about, but just it's pretty crazy just how much of a icon she's turned into. She's her own brand. She doesn't need any other brand to do her thing. I mean, it's just Gina Carano's it's who she is now. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I just think she's kind of become like an icon to people over this whole.
Well, she has.
whole
I mean,
process.
it's welcome to the rebellion,
Yeah.
or yeah, just being willing to stand on your principles
And your convictions or whatever that is, people should feel free to do that.
yes, in
Especially
a
in
free country, you should feel free.
Yeah, especially in that Hollywood bubble, not a lot of those people want to, remember she said that she got a lot of, and other actors have said this too, that somewhat stood out. It's like, or agents have come out and said like, oh, hey, we really appreciate what you've done and what you're standing up for, but we just can't do it. So
Yeah,
that's what makes her different, is because she doesn't care about that stuff. She's not willing to she was willing to kind of lose it all to not change who she is. So that's why I respect her more than those others. Cause at that point, by not saying anything, you're part of the problem. So.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, Warren, my mind's trying to think of which Obi-Wan Kenobi quote are you saying she's becoming? I'm interested. I feel like it's gonna make sense when you type it out, but type it out. But yeah, I thought that was awesome that the ratings, and it just shows again a grass movement of fans that support her, and why it was a nonsensical move that Disney made when they decided to get rid of her, which does lead into our next topic of the Disney Plus subscription info that I first saw, at least on the Wall Street Journal. They did an article on it. But basically, I believe they lost about $60 million, or no, 600 million. Excuse me. I just pulled a Dr. Evil. $1 million.
Shell, you know that if you strike me down.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely. She's become infinitely more powerful. Totally.
I love that.
Yes. Yeah. I knew as soon as you wrote it, I would get what you were saying. Yes. I've thought of that too before, actually. But yeah, so they lost 600 million in this last quarter.
Gosh.
And I think a lot of it even coming from Disney Plus not meeting the expectations it was supposed to.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Gina Carano's effect definitely has a lot to do with that. And I think the showrunners the shows that they put out really haven't succeeded what they wanted to. WandaVision kind of fell flat. And then what was the other one? The Falcon Winter Soldier. They said that once they started getting really woke, there's a couple reports that once those episodes started to drop and it started feeling like they were being lectured, they said the drop off was huge. So, and again, I remember hearing this on another podcast that, they still didn't make back their money from Disney or from their Star Wars movies. So they've been in the hole for a while, and this doesn't help it at all. So.
Well, and you bring up a good point. That's what people, I think, fail to realize sometimes. And we see this in our comments. They just see Disney as this big, powerful company, and it is. But Bob Iger, which can be a good business move. I'm not downing it. But over the last many years, all he's been doing is paying and acquiring things. So they've spent so much money. They now are in the era they need to reap the benefits of spending that money. And then, of course, the bug hit, and then all of this. So they actually are kind of in a weakened state where they need to begin to recoup the money they've been spending on all this stuff. I mean, even when you look at, they made this amount of money on Disney Plus subscriptions. Well, The Mandalorian itself was like over 200 million for 2 seasons. So you have to, and then WandaVision and that. So you have to calculate cost and then see what are they bringing in from actually what they're doing.
I have to confess, I didn't even finish the Winter Soldier.
I didn't either. I
didn't watch it at all. I've seen people's reviews and stuff, but I had no desire to watch it.
I didn't watch the final 3 episodes. What happened is it didn't interest me. And then I began to genuinely, and shout out to the Salty Nerd podcast and go subscribe to their YouTube channel. I started watching their reviews, and was really getting life from the fact that Jude hated the show so much because I hated it so much. So I just started watching their reviews, and I found their reviews vastly more entertaining than that show.
They really were.
Yeah, when I watch, like, because I'll watch Nerdrotic's channel, and they do reviews and whatnot of these shows, and I like watching their commentary and picking apart how ridiculous they are, because those guys are massive. Like, I know comic books, but not like them. And Eric July, these guys know the comics inside and out in their stories, and when they pick it apart, it's interesting just to see how bad they've portrayed these characters in the show. So that's what I find more interesting, just how they have this massive IP that they can make millions on, that people have loved forever, and they just refuse to do it. They're more about that social justice message than actual storytelling, and it's showing. So
yes.
Yeah, it is.
And I wanted to read Share Bear because I try to be a force of light, but the fact that Disney lost money made me happy, and I'm not sorry about it. I understand, girl.
We're all only human.
And Phil, for the $2 super chat, thank you. Beep bop boop. Sup, people.
I like
What's
that.
up? What's
I like
up?
that sup throwback. It's been a while.
I know. I like it too.
And guys used to message you like sup.
Let's see. I wanted to bring this out. You're talking about a company with many billion in revenue, though. Talking a few percentage point lower than expected. They are here to stay. And we're not saying I literally said they are a big, powerful company, but all of these major companies have been struggling. And here's my thing. Disney, as you said, they've not even gotten back the $4.4 billion they paid for Star Wars yet, let alone everything else they've been acquiring. So here's what we're saying. They've been dishing out money now for years, mass amounts of cash. And now you've got to begin to recoup the cash to make it worth the buying. And that's where we're saying they're in a little bit of a weak spot, because they need to begin to bring that cash flow in.
That you got to spend money to make money.
Yes, but now they spent the money.
You got to make it back.
You got to make it back.
Is the goal.
Yeah.
They're not in any trouble. Like, they're not going to go under anytime soon. That's not going to happen. But they also have investors that they need to respond to and answer to. And, that company is a for-profit company. So if you keep spending money, they expect a certain amount of a return over time. And I don't think they're even. I mean, when did they acquire Star Wars?
Wasn't that 2000? Was it 2011 or 12?
Yeah, it was. We're almost at the 10-year mark. If not, we already are. So it's like you're 10 years into this massive IP and you haven't made your money back yet. I mean, that's a big deal. That's probably the biggest IP ever of all time would be Star Wars. That's, you can argue that, but I think the fact that they have that and they haven't made their money back is a massive problem for them. So
yeah, it is. And it's kind of a fail. It's not kind of, it's a failing of Lucasfilm too. But yeah, so that's all we're saying. Obviously Disney's going to keep going, but that is why you've seen major layoffs too, because they've been affected by everything that's gone on. They're not bulletproof and fully is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And didn't they say Disney Plus, it was going to take a minimum of like 5 to 6 years to actually start making a profit off of but that's if they're hitting their numbers and their expected subscriber rate. With this massive drop off, that now pushes that timeline back further, unless they have some mass subscription growing, which I can't see happening anytime soon. And I have a feeling that they're probably not going to do Obi-Wan justice. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think that's going to be enough to bring in the subscribers that they lost with the whole Gina thing. I think that kind of was the nail in the coffin.
And that's a great point, because I'm so bad at remembering numbers, guys, that I don't like to throw them out there. But I want to say it was like over 200 million subscribers that they need to begin to make money. I maybe that's way off, but I feel like I've heard that number. But it
was like 200, not.
But the bottom line is they're not there. And they weren't supposed to be there. They knew it was going to take time, but they're not there yet to where they're even making money off Disney Plus. So as you said, any bumps in the road is not a particularly great thing. Like it is what it is. So speaking of that subscription service, we'll move on to another one, because Amazon Prime, several years ago, it's been quite a while, they purchased the rights to, not the Lord of the Rings characters that we've met in the books or the Hobbit characters, but for the rights of all the other stories. So they have the rights to that. And they've been in development with this Amazon Lord of the Rings series that they're going to do. And I think it's going to be the most expensive series that's ever been done in TV history. And did you hear, again, I'm terrible with numbers.
I want to say $500 million.
That's what I was going to say. Yes, 500 million. And I don't know if you know, Matt, we had never seen Lord of the Rings until the beginning of this year. And we did our first watch of that trilogy. And I liked it.
That's how I got my name.
Yeah, Natalie the Red. Instead of Gandalf the White. But anyways, pretty much since we finished it, I knew that I was seeing things about this series and just kind of beginning to learn more about Tolkien that I really had a red flag for the series that Amazon's doing. And so with this latest news, they're talking all about diversity and how we live in a new world and all these catchphrases for we all know what that means. We all know what it means. And I heard someone say, actually recently, someone with a fairly decent sized YouTube channel, and he wasn't saying in a negative way. He was just saying, why does this bother some people? I just genuinely am curious. And I want to explain that. So Amazon throwing out this diversity talk and we live in this new world. We all know what's coming. They're going to begin to force diversity. And here's what I'm saying. No one cares if there's diversity and it's natural. But when it's unnatural, that Lord of the Rings was Tolkien doing basically a medieval tale of England. That's what it was. Like, that's what Middle Earth was representative of. It was always supposed to be like, and you may know the time period, he didn't feel like they had enough like adventure tales of their kind of their history or England's history. But that's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
In that time period, which this is where I'm saying the movies were accurate in having a very white cast because England in that time period.
She said it. Oh my God.
It was super white, guys. It was that's all that was there. It would be like if you did a timepiece in Nigeria and you had a bunch of white people. It wouldn't make sense. Or if you did it in China or pick any other country before there was like advanced travel in the world.
Right.
And that's why it's problematic. It doesn't fit. But beyond that, we would all shake it off if they just put, a Latin character or an African-American character that was well fleshed out and we liked it. We would overlook it. Everyone would. But Hollywood has lost the benefit of the doubt. And when they talk this talk, it means it's going to be very forced. And it's probably not going to be the best writing. I think we all know that. But I've talked enough. You guys can say your thoughts on it.
Well, I don't think that's the point. It's Hollywood now is not creative anymore. They rely on real world problems to dictate a story and then teach us the right way to think. And somebody in the comments said the quote that they had just released the other day. It needs to be for a global audience I think Dan wrote that. And that's, it always has been for a global audience. It's like one of the best selling books of all time. And the movies just did, insane in the box office. So The Hobbit was okay, but they're definitely going to ruin this. It's already writings on the wall. And just think about that's $500 million down the drain because this is going to turn off but probably I would say most real hardcore Lord of the Rings fans, just because they're not even just Lord of the Rings fans, but they're J.R.R. Tolkien fans. And when you basically, if they're doing all this, you're disrespecting his thoughts and what he thought about it, because I believe a lot of his faith was involved in this too. So when you start throwing in, different sexualities and all that kind of stuff, it really tarnishes what he was trying to accomplish. So, and I think there was, I was listening to a podcast and they said that during the movies, they were trying to do a lot of changes as well. Like I don't remember the character that Liv Tyler plays. I don't remember her, she, yes, they wanted to make her more of like, combative with like a sword and whatnot. And when they said they had to rewrite the script a couple times because it just wasn't working. It didn't fit right. So they said, just screw it, we'll stay with the book. And it worked. And everyone loved her. Like, you don't have to be this warrior to be, respected and like, oh, you have power. Like, it's just, I don't know. That's just stick to what works and don't alter anything. But
well, and especially
you can still offer so many wonderful things to the world as a person without being, if we're talking about women, without being this amazing fighter,
Well, and especially when you had that princess, that was her hero's arc. Like, so if you give it to Liv Tyler's character, you take away from the other female's character that, gets this big final moment in Return of the King. So you know what I'm saying? Even by doing that, if they would have forced it, it would have just taken away from the other female in the movie.
Well, and one other thing I was thinking about Lord of the Rings is I feel like kind of a theme in it is like the little short guy. I forget what that's called.
The Hobbits?
No, not that one. There's another.
Oh, Schmeagol?
Not Schmeagol. There's like Orlando Bloom and then his
dwarf.
A dwarf. That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little people going on here.
Gimli.
Yeah, Gimli.
So him and the elf, like they start out,
they don't like each other.
And then they become really good friends and respect each other by the end of it. So I feel like that was kind of intentionally a point to show people that we think that we don't agree with or whatever. Yeah. We can come together and actually really like each other and work together well.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's very clear that all these companies, they're doing it with DC, or Warner Brothers doing it with DC, and Marvel starting to do that they're taking our IPs, they're just using the name, and then they're changing everything that made the name as powerful and what we all loved about it. So it's old news at this point. So this may have worked, I think, for them 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. But now, knowing like what these companies do with it's going to fall flat. And I cannot see this being successful. I don't know how they're going to. $500 million is insane for one season. Like, how do you even make that investment back? I don't get it.
No idea. I don't either.
Well, and especially, even that you brought this up because Tolkien was a devout Catholic. And I've said this before on other things. If today's Hollywood can't figure out Lucas, there is no way they can figure out Tolkien. Like, that's a hopeless cause. It's not happening.
Right.
Well, and that's again, I don't even think they want to figure it out because I remember hearing once there was somebody on the show that was related to Tolkien that was kind of overseeing the project. I'm bad with names like you, or you're bad with numbers. I'm bad with names. And he recently, or a couple years, or I think over the past year, passed away. And
Christopher Tolkien, his grandson or son.
Yeah, it was somebody who was supposed to kind of keep them in line and not make them go off the rails. Once he passed away, they're just like, oh, it's free reign now. And they've been just changing everything, apparently. So, which is really sad that they're just kind of like George Lucas, like, oh, and once he's gone, we're going to throw his scripts over our shoulder and just do what we want. So it's just shows you how, I don't know, how just kind of terrible these companies really are at the point. They just care about their own message.
Right.
Well, and at least
instead of coming up with something new, taking something that somebody worked hard on and making it trash.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
It's just disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have I've got a bad feeling about it.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, I have zero hope on that actually being successful in any way, shape, or form. So it's going to be a massive, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want these companies to fail. I really don't, because at the end of the day, they make our media. I know people, other people need to come out and do our own thing like Gina is going to do, but they need to fail to a point where they learn the lesson. Maybe if they lose enough money and they don't actually completely go under, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to change. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. Time will tell, I guess.
They're Hollywood's gonna Hollywood. Thank you, David Neal, for the 1999 super chat. Hell to the ladies from Force of Light Entertainment. They're narrating the story based on their narrative. It definitely sounds that way.
Thank you for the super chat.
And thank you to our awesome moderator, Marcos, for the $4.99 super chat. Marvel's Shang-Chi, Eternals may be be banned from China. Yes, maybe banned from China. Yes. Yeah, we can go into that for a minute. Would that not be so funny? Again, back to what Cher Bear said. we try to be a force of light, but sometimes when Disney walks into this, it's hard not to laugh at what they've done. I mean, would that not be so funny that they have tried to talk about bending the knee? They have like licked the boot of a country that literally has a place where people concentrate in.
Yeah.
And all they do is lick their boot basically to make them happy. And they can't make them happy enough. And they may not let them have these movies in their country who they've catered totally to.
Yep. Yeah, it's complete karma at this point. And the first one, like the Eternals, the reason why that's being banned, I don't know if you guys know, it's the director that they picked for this. I don't remember her name. I don't want to even attempt to say it because I don't remember. But apparently, she spoke out when she won either an Emmy or a Grammy or something for another thing she directed. She spoke out against China, and this was like 10 years ago. And since then, like everything that comes into China is ran through state media. It's got to be approved to be shown in their country. So since she's tied to this, they're like, nope, like they won't list that movie right now. So it's probably not going to happen. And the other one, Shang-Chi, I think's what it's called. It's more of the people speaking out in China about how horrible this movie looks, because it's apparently one of the Mandarin who's going to be the bad guy has those ist condentations from where he stems from. I don't know the backstory of it, but then also there are a lot of their the replies and whatnot on their, I guess, their YouTube channel or whatever over in China were saying basically like Americans are portraying us in a really horrible light. Like they're using a lot of they're throwing kung fu with a bunch of red on our posters. Like they're just stereotypically depicting them. And they see that they're not like appreciating their culture. And the fact that they could pick that out is just kind of hilarious at this point,
It is.
Right.
It kind of feels like sweet justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tables have turned, my friend.
They have. And I've not seen anything for Eternals. None of this excites me. I can say that.
No, the whole phase 4 just looks like a big flop. It just doesn't, there's nothing there that they're definitely going to pander. It's going to be, like many have said, the MCU is what they're leaning to. I mean, they already rebranded Marvel 2 or Captain Marvel 2 to Miss Marvel or Marvels or whatever it's going to be. So it's not looking really good. And like you said, a lot of people didn't even ask for this. Like these are characters that they're not very popular here. So I think they were anticipating that Chinese box office to really pick up the slack. And I don't think that might happen now. So.
And I just really wish this could be a good thing. I really hope China doesn't let them in, and that maybe sounds terrible, but maybe Hollywood then, well, they'll go one of two ways. They'll either dig deeper and make sure they really lick the boot and get in with China, or maybe they'll just actually begin to make stories for the rest of the world, for the rest of us in America and every other place. Because really, with Hollywood, America should be the first place you're trying to appease and then move out from there because you're an American company.
Michelle, that sounds very Americanist of you.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. The BBC, who are they trying to appease first?
Yeah.
British people. That's it.
Right.
Like, we like a lot of BBC stuff, but we're not their target audience when they make their shows.
Yeah, we accept their culture, their standards that they set, because it's like, okay, well, this is their show, their culture, so you either accept it and learn from it, or you don't expect it to bend to like, well, we don't do that in America, so you need to change that, So.
Right, exactly. Like if I watched what's it called, Bollywood in India.
They have Bollywood.
If I watch one of their movies, I expect to get their culture and what they like. That's just how it is.
Right, and that's perfectly okay.
It is.
And expected.
They've kind of turned that into being an ist, right? Like if you make a movie based on one culture, I feel like, or if it's not a culture of somebody who's, I guess, considered unrepresented, it's considered ist now. Like you can't do that. Or they're trying to make this seem like some utopia. Like, I don't know, like it just, people still like there is a melting pot. That's what the United States is made of. But people still like do their own thing. Like I remember in high school, I got along with everybody we did, but everyone kind of sat with their own groups either way. Like we all hung out, but when you were at lunchtime or whatever, everyone like you had a lot of the Hispanic kids would sit together because they all spoke Spanish and they wanted to they related more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's really weird how they say that cultures, I don't know. They just depict everything as bad. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what you're saying, I mean, I think we, as human beings, we tend to do that for whatever reason. It's like what's familiar to us. And, so I mean, that's a good point, actually. I mean, we do tend to do that. And it's not like out of a hatred in your heart or anything. It's just, like you said, different minorities, they tend to stick together a lot. And not that you're not like, hey, and friendly and like kind of acquaintances or whatever, but like in high school situation.
And even too, with say America being a melting pot, which it is, so many people here, whether they're Latin or whatever, Asian, a lot of them are second generation, many third, some fourth, and they are just fully American at this point. And they connect with American culture because that's where they've been raised. So they're as American as anyone else. And
absolutely.
You appease to them just by having more of that American type thing.
Right, right.
So it is. And the diversity stuff, like here's a good example. I was thinking, because we're massive Stranger Things fans, massive.
Yes, Stranger Things is awesome. I cannot wait for the next season.
Yes, we saw that teaser. Just got me all the feels. I
know.
But you know why? Because it was one of the most creative things that Hollywood's done in a long time.
It was just so refreshing.
It was.
And it was one of those shows that I didn't really know what to expect the next episode. That's why, like, if you ever watch Stranger Things or other shows I've mentioned, like Invincible stuff, like when someone says, well, it's a filler episode, that is an excuse to me, because when you watch shows like that are just every episode, it leaves you hanging like, I need to watch the next one. Or I don't binge a lot of shows, but Stranger Things, well, I will binge that in a weekend.
Me too.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, it's so good. And I was thinking recently about how and I'm actually surprised they've not gone flack for it. They were their casting, which is vastly white, with Lucas and his family. You bringing in Black or African American, whatever you want to be called. I refuse to say people of color because it sounds like the 1950s segregation. It sounds like and I'm not saying
like colored people. I mean, I'm just
I don't like
it.
It
sounds like.
It feels to me to even say that.
Yeah, that sounds bad. And then that acronym I've always used as point of contact, like at any job I've ever used. So I'm like, I can't even use that. Like, I don't even want to use that in work emails anymore because I have to like spell it out now because I don't want people to take it wrong or whatever. So
they're like, person of color. This doesn't make sense.
It's like, what are you trying to say?
Well, but anyways,
you're one of those.
So think about that show. It's all these white people plus Dustin, plus Lucas and his family, but they're in a small town in Indiana in the 1980s.
Yeah,
that's realistic.
Yeah,
and that's we've talked about this before. I mean, were there? Okay, I guess yes, there were gay and lesbian people, but it wasn't quite as out. So
it wasn't very open.
The fact that like you've got Robin in there in the second season or third season, and she's a gay character. It's just like really, it's like that would probably even be a little outside the norm for Indiana in a small town in the 1980s for a girl to come out as gay. And so, but. Where am I going? My brain's going.
Well, but
I'm just saying it's like kind of like you're saying, like with the
here's what I want to say in that. Here's where you would know they are trying to appease people. If they made Will gay, that would be so forced.
We talked about
and they've planted seed there, so I'm a little nervous on it.
Like it could go either way.
But if you had two gay characters in a small group in the 1980s and Hawkins in a small town, Indiana. The likelihood of that, guys, and that time was like one in a million.
Of like two openly gay kids.
Like that's like, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yes.
Right.
Sprinkled. So will that get me season 4 if I put that in there? Basically what that's. I agree with you. I mean, it's again, I don't know why in Hollywood now they're afraid to reference past time periods. Like We've grown from that. We've gotten better from it. So you know, like when they make movies that are taking place in like the 70s or 60s or whatever, I feel like they try to alter it or dance around some of these things. And it's not so much like, you can't erase history. You have to learn about history so you don't repeat it.
Yes,
people said it over and over again. So, but yeah, I agree with you. There wouldn't be too openly people like that in that community. Not open, at least. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, and that's what I want to clarify. I meant no hate by what I said. I hope you all know that from the bottom of my heart. I'm just saying realistically, it's kind of like Michelle said, if it's about race or whatever, like if you're in Africa in the 1400s, there's probably not going to be like a bunch of white people there. You know, so just like make it realistic.
Did you guys see It? Have you guys ever watched It?
I watched It actually a couple weeks ago.
I won't watch it. I'm not an It fan.
So like one of the characters in there was secretly homosexual, essentially, and that was the thing. Like it never came out. You know what I mean? It wasn't, and that was then during the 80s, I think, or 70s.
Right.
So that was the same thing. Like it was not a well-known thing. He kind of kept it to himself, but that was his like deep fear that he had to kind of overcome a sense in that movie. And that was a great representation because at the time, like you said, I'm sure there was a ton of people that felt that way. I mean, throughout history, we know that there are a ton of people that have felt that way, but they didn't feel like it was acceptable to be open. So if you start having a show like that now, like maybe half the cast it's not going to really make much sense, you know? Or even if they were, it wouldn't be open. It wouldn't be just a discussed thing.
Exactly. And that's what we're saying. If they like, and I don't think Stranger Things will, but because we brought all this up to say they were a good example.
Yeah.
Where they could maybe get flack for saying it's not diverse enough. But if they had so much more diverse, and actually they bring an Indian, I believe she's Indian descent that plays 8 in season 2.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think they've tried in little places, but as far as the main crew in Hawkins, Indiana, I think, bringing Lucas family in, that's realistic. That's what the 1980s looked like.
Right. And I think that was a really great example. I didn't even think about that, but that was like, that was including it in a way that was believable and made sense for the time period. And
you're also touching on, like, that's what I mean by, like, I don't mind diversity in any way, shape, or form. Right. You can write it well without cramming the message of something down your throat. It's like, oh, here's a strong, powerful woman character, or, whatever you want to use, and you can write it well to where it's like, that isn't what makes them special. That's just part of who they are, but they still need to overcome issues, and they're still people like us. Like it's not like, they make it like it's, I don't know. It's kind of crazy how they isolate it or make it really weird. It's like, I don't know. It's just because you're a woman, when they force the message too much, like what they did with Rey, I feel like they're making that kind of like a handicap, and it shouldn't be a handicap to be a female. It should just be like, you're just like everyone else. You're just overcoming issues and becoming a better person. And it's just, you're a female.
Well, they've started making it's very generic.
Yeah. And I think whether it's your gender or your sexuality, I think, something else with culture is like, that one thing shouldn't define everything about you.
Yes.
Like if you're gay or lesbian or a woman or, or trans
or whatever race you are.
Like that shouldn't be the sum total of like
who you
are.
This
is me in a box. Like, it's like,
that's not your superpower. Like that's just a part of who you are, what makes you a complete person. And you shouldn't be looked down for that, but there should be other things that make you a who you are, just not just based on your sexuality. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see what Amazon does, but I don't have much hope in that. But I want to close out just with today with our topics. I want to close out on, so Gal Gadot recently got into a little bit of controversy. She found herself in the midst of a cancel culture hate mob. In fact, one of them was like, let's cancel her like we did Gina Carano.
Oh my gosh.
That's the people we're dealing with. And I'm not going to get into what I think. I don't know enough about.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't feel educated enough. I mean, I know certain, base.
Here's
facts,
all
but-
here's all we need to know. She is from Israel. Obviously, she's going to be partial to Israel, as I would be with America.
Like that's kind of what's like. That's kind of what.
Well, and
humans
she
do.
served in their military.
Their military, yes, but she prays for peace for both sides, or says she's praying for peace for both sides. Like, what more do you want her to do? Like, why is that a problem? I mean, we now live in a day where you say you pray for peace and they want to cancel you.
Yeah.
It's just, it's absurd.
It's because I guess, and I didn't know that on Twitter, there was a specific side you should be picking. I didn't know, like, you know what I mean? It shouldn't, again, it's just, there's no common sense. Like, that's out the window. These people they live at home. They're on Twitter all day. They follow that same echo chamber of stupidity. And, again, how are you going to cancel someone for just wanting peace? Regardless of what side you're on or what's going on, I don't know enough, like you said, about the subject matter to even have an opinion really on it. The point is, though, you don't want any, like, combat's never a fun thing. You don't want, that's not something that, regardless of the side, even if our own forces or, like when we were in Afghanistan and stuff, you don't want to be there. You don't, at first when you sign up, you're like, yes, you do. And then you go there and you're like, I'd rather be home.
Yeah.
So, it's not something like once that, and she's someone who's served, right? So she has firsthand experience, especially there because they're so close together and they don't like each other, those two countries. There's always conflict. So when you see that stuff firsthand, it's past the politics at that point. You're just like, hey, you just want to be peaceful. Like, you can have a peaceful Middle East and just discuss things. That's the thing. Like, you don't have to be sending rockets into each other's hometowns and whatnot. So yeah, the fact that they try to cancel her because she was wanting peace and just to, normal conversation, that's just shows you what Twitter essentially is. It's the bottom of a urinal. So,
well, I think acknowledge something huge that was happening in her country where she grew up and served, as you said. And, one thing I do find interesting, I was thinking about this, like when all this stuff happened, but it's like, so the left in general tends to side with the Middle East, if you guys have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're I don't know, I've just noticed that. And it's like, what's ironic about that is that they stand against, everything that they love, like here in America, like all the
rights where she's talking about.
I'm trying not to say really bad things, but they do bad things to people of a certain.
Didn't Iran just allow women to get a driver's license?
It's just funny that that's who they back up when these things come up, and then conservatives tend to favor Israel. So it's just it's weird.
Yeah, they're not equal rights of any kind. Like, what I mean? They're behind the times in that sense. And the fact that you have a lot of the left, mainly, that support these countries that do that, not even just them, but other countries, it boggles my mind because, like, there was a thing that I saw, like the LGBTQ was standing with like the Palestinians or something, and I'm like,
they're not staying with you.
You not understand how their stance on LGBTQ, because
what they do to people,
like, as a whole, they'll chuck you off a building for thinking that way. So they're not the most open. And I know a lot of it ties to, specific religions. I mean, all religions are pretty much against that, but some are a little bit more lenient than others. It's just mind blowing to me that I don't get it. I don't understand. And I guess it's the media tells them what to think and what to do. And, because mainstream media is just completely based on or biased on one side. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
like and their interest when it goes totally against each other. So it's just sort of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of memes and I was just like, it's pretty funny.
Right.
Yeah, they came for Gal. So Gal got a taste of
Brie Larson. Did you see unfollowed her? Apparently?
That's what someone said.
I saw that on YouTube.
I've not taken the time to confirm that. Plus,
I
didn't know she followed her before, so I didn't know.
Yeah, it's just, well, I think of all people like, and I'm not against Brie Larson too much, but anyone like her, they're going to do the norm. They want to stay relevant. There's a lot of Hollywood people you could tell that they need to stay relevant and stay on the good side of Hollywood so they continue to have a career. Most people, like, for instance, Gina Carano and your others who are just like Robert Downey Jr. He's a good example. He's a rock star. I mean, that guy, he's going to be cast in anything no matter what he says. Brie Larson's not. Brie Larson, you're lucky to get her in a movie. So she's got to kind of walk the line in the sense to stay relevant. Otherwise, she's out. If she started talking any type of, I would say, like right side, like right wing talking points at all, or any type of Republican talking points at all, she'd be gone. She would disappear. Yeah. They would erase her from movies. So, I mean.
So periodically, people like her, they just need to please the right people, basically. To stay.
That came out in the Hollywood Reporter, like the day after they got rid of Gina, that their agents encouraged them to take up like very left-leaning policies and really promote it. If they don't feel that way, just to be really quiet.
Well, and look at Disney. Bob Chapek and all them announced that they're as a company, they're not going to be quiet about politics anymore, that they need to stand up and they need to have a voice. He said that, and this is the leader of essentially the company. So if your guy running the show is saying like, yeah, we need to be more influenced or more involved in the political speech, that's a problem. Like they know what they need to do. Like that's why Gina Carano's not there, is because she was on the wrong side of their thought process when it comes to politics. So
well, yeah, and I just kind of want to say as we're closing, we really, and I feel like we said this before, but I was thinking it this morning, and Mama Susan may not like this wording, but I was thinking
she probably doesn't like a lot of what we said.
I've never thought about vax versus non-vax. Like we've started labeling people and things I've never thought about in my life.
Yeah.
And it needs to stop. Like
Rachel Maddow saying she has to rewire her brain to not look at someone unmasked like a threat, and it's like,
yeah, whether you're a masker or a non-masker, what is the deal with all these labeling people? And we need to stop it. Like you need to see one another as human beings first before you see an elephant or a donkey, all these, vax, non-vax, mask, no mask, all these different titles that people seem to be getting these days. That comes after just seeing people as human beings again. Like, see that we could make a T-shirt. See humans as human beings again. But that's kind of my mind.
Make humanity great again.
Yeah, make humanity great again. Like, quit labeling people as stuff. It's sad, but
we'll see. The extreme people, they want those labels to exist.
Yeah.
Because that's their way of kind of scaring you or forcing you to think whatever way. It doesn't matter what the topic is. They'll label you they'll put you in a box and label you so that if you want out of that box, you're going to do what they want you to do. So whether that be voting or vaxing or whatever the case is, wearing masks versus not wearing masks, whatever, if we call you certain names and put you in this category, well, if you want out of that category, you'll do what we say. Essentially. Yeah. So they don't want that non-labeling to go away because it's a form of control.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, definitely. And hello to OMB Reviews. Yes, to Odin. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Odin, you actually live like right where we live. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. It's sad because they want, and that's why I speak to our audience. Don't buy for the division. Yes, you can be labeled if you want to label yourself any of those things, have at it.
It's a free country for now.
It's common sense.
Yes, but treat people, yeah, that Chattanooga life, exactly. But treat people as human beings first. Like, quit just seeing someone as, even if it's a crazy lefty, see the humanity in them.
Look deep for it.
But even if it's one of these cancel culture weirdos, they are a human being. But
get your shovel out and dig.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I agree with you. It's like, they find it very requiring of them to either berate you or think little of you or say anything bad against you because you don't think they're the same way. But just ignore them. They're not worth the time. I mean, that day when Gina's video or show aired, you know how much hate we all got on Twitter because we were supporting her. I mean, we had trolls. I know one of yours, they were commenting things. They commented one thing on mine, and they didn't even know how to insult me correctly, which I found funny. So it's just like, it's not even worth, arguing back with them. It's just like, well, if that's what makes you feel better, man, go ahead. Just,
it is. It's like arguing with a wall. I mean, what's the point really in putting your energy into it? Because like sometimes, I've had times I respond, but sometimes I know what you mean. Like it's better just, and they might think they won or what, but it's just like, I just don't want to engage.
No, it's a waste of time and energy.
Don't do it.
It is. And basically what Odin's saying and what Cher's saying is what we're saying too, that basically do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's a motto scripture to live by.
It is.
But we definitely need to do that. But that's kind of it as far as our topics. Anything, you're kind of like us where you kind of fill out the news of what you want to cover. So you may not know what you've got coming up next, but if you do.
I was going to do a video. I'm probably going to do a video on the loss of how many, all that revenue that Disney did. I think that's a topic. But yeah, I just kind of go with what pops up, what news is coming out. I mean, God, it's so limited sometimes, on what's going on. I am going to start doing some live streams. I just got to I finally got my setup to where I think I could start doing them myself. Just kind of figure out a day of the week to do it, and then what we'll be talking about. So yeah, that's all I got going on.
Well, that's
absolutely
awesome. And yes, amen to Odin. The world may go to hell, but Christ remains king.
Can I get an amen?
Yes, amen. Yes, definitely. It's well, that's good. I understand. We too. That's why sometimes we'll have like a lot of videos in a week, and then other times we may have one or two only, and just some live streams because we just try to cover the news. And I will say to everyone watching, I'm excited because we actually started as a movie review discussion channel, but then the bug hit. So we've not really got to do tons of new movies, and we had
to be creative.
We did. And we love doing, and we say that in our description, commentary, discuss rumors, different stuff. But I am excited that we've got like a lot of new movies coming out. Like we're going to go see this afternoon the new Angelina Jolie movie, and we will have our review out on that tomorrow. And then I think, because we were talking about on the show last night, I think Natalie and I will watch just the 12-minute episode of Bucketheads. And
you guys have to watch Bucketheads. Have to. It's so good. It's so good.
And it's for you, if you don't know, it's a fan movie, Star Wars movie, but it looks fantastic as far as the quality. So I want to give them a little love and review that, or maybe not review, just kind of talk about it for a few minutes. And let's see, what else do we have coming out? The Zack Snyder zombie movie comes out next week, which we'll discuss.
I'm going to watch that. I'll probably do a review on that one. I did episode 1 of Bad Batch. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing any reviews on it just because it's not been that good. And I don't know how many people, like if people aren't watching it and don't want to watch it, then I'm not going to review it. But
that's how we feel. Yeah.
Yeah. I can only imagine his channel. Yeah.
And that is what I'm so excited for. It got moved back up. And so for like the Angelina Jolie, we'll probably do like a 10-minute review and just put it out in video. For that, I want to do a live stream discussion. Like that's because I'm so excited for that movie. I want to talk spoilers with that movie.
It was one of the best, most well done, just the way it is, I think, in a long time that we had seen like in that genre.
And Mikey, it is only 12 minutes long. That's episode 1.
Yeah, it's just, I think, I don't know how many episodes they plan on running, but it's season 1, episode 1. So they might be doing more. I have no idea, like the background behind them, who's like how they're funding this and everything. Cause this is all, it has to be nonprofit because they're not, they're using Star Wars, so they can't sell it. But yeah, it's really good so far. I can't imagine. It's crazy how fans who love something made something more Star Wars than Disney, who tried to, corporate cookie cutter this. So it's crazy.
But I can believe it. I mean, it makes sense in a way.
It does.
Yeah,
people that really know something versus people just trying to like make money,
Even Star Wars theories, his Star Wars theories, a little fan video, if you've ever seen that. that was so good. So, I mean, it's if you love something and you put the effort in, you can make amazing things. It's just you got to love it though.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I want to say hello to Shabby before we get off.
Shabby.
But yeah, that's kind of it for today's discussion of this. Again, we are doing this weekly roundup on Saturday because I was out of town Wednesday. So next week, weekly roundup will be on Wednesday at its usual time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, we've got some exciting things coming up, and I'm sure Matt does too, and he'll be back. He'll be back on the show.
Remember to subscribe to Matt at A Common Idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I always love sitting talking about things and just kind of, experiencing other opinions and ideas. That's the whole point of this. So I like that. So I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on.
We think you're great.
We think you're not an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Look who just dropped in.
He came. I love how he shows up right as we're getting off.
Drunk, where's my hello?
He really did just dish.
This is just rude.
I know, right? You only and Nat. Oh.
There it is.
Yeah, but that's kind of it. Am I echoing?
I don't hear an echo.
Okay, good. As long as I'm not to them, I'm fine with it. But yeah, that's kind of it for our discussions, and we've got some fun reviews coming out. What did you do today? Subscribe to somebody.
Thank you. I'm almost at 300, so awesome.
Yeah, you're doing good. You'll be to 1,000 before you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes it's just grinding it out. You know how it is. And then it'll get there when it gets there. So
it will.
My channel is not like a niche channel, so it's not gonna the algorithms don't really like it that much. And YouTube continues to change things and whatnot. So
yeah, YouTube's not really liked our videos recently.
Like, I feel like we've only had about 3 videos, probably in the grand scheme of things, that have gotten in the algorithm. Yet we don't really understand how all that magic works either.
Yeah, it hasn't been happy with us recent.
Oh, and I did want to plug something for Drunk, which means something to me. His next run of shirts is going to be going to a veteran organization.
Oh.
I know he hasn't announced it yet, but so if you haven't got your shirts or anything from Drunk 3PO, when he does start going to pick his organization, that would be a great cause because, look out for your veterans and whatnot. So
definitely.
Yeah, definitely buy you Welcome to the Rebellion shirt.
Yeah, you missed it, Natalie. We all had our, well, I think you dropped in. You saw we were all wearing ours yesterday. It was like 3 of us.
Right. You were. Yeah.
And hello to Ryan.
There he is.
Drunk 3PO had me on his channel when I was at 300 subs.
That's awesome.
Well,
yeah. I mean,
we were at more than 300 at that point.
Okay, so don't get cocky. It wasn't that much more. But he got us over 1,000, so we're forever grateful.
Hey, it's just a grind. He'll get there.
Gosh, Ryan, since you're here, I'll say this. Sometimes when people are idiots on Twitter, I hear my inner Ryan in my head, and that's what I call it. My inner Ryan comes out of what I kind of in that moment want to say.
Ryan, if you're still watching by any chance, yeah, she does say that to me somewhat regularly lately. She's like, well, Ryan would say explicit
I call it my inner Ryan. It's these
Ryan.
Moments, these twinges of rage that you feel.
Oh, that's yeah. Ryan would fit in great in the Marine Corps. I'm just saying.
Probably would. You've got a point.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of that. So it's his rage factor. So it's awesome.
I don't know if he's talking about us. Jay, you're welcome to come on the weekly roundup anytime you want.
We thought you were too much of a big shot.
We did. Right, Ryan knows.
Yeah, he would fit in perfect. I don't know. The military's kind of getting soft anymore, so it's politics is sadly creeping into that too. So I have a lot of friends that are getting out that they were like, "Yeah, I'm doing 20." They're kind of like, "Nope, it's getting crazy. I'm getting out."
So, right. I don't blame them.
Guys, we're used to the downvotes.
We always have at least one, because that one, we've thought, because it was before we even, it was when we were a much smaller channel.
It was when we were in the 200 range of subs.
Like we had this one downvote on every video.
Hey, let
So we
them watch.
decided
Let them watch. Make like Ripa says, monetize your haters, make money off them. So I love when people right. It's like downvote all you want, just keep watching.
absolutely.
Wait, does Ryan really have a hairless cat?
No, if you haven't seen,
I've seen the Photoshop picture of him as a hairless
Wait a
cat.
minute, does he really? I love
No,
hairless
he
cats.
does not have a hairless cat.
Dang it,
Friday
Ryan.
Night Tights is hilarious, and the intro with him as the cat is just insane. Oh man.
But anyways, guys, well, thank you especially to all you all in the chat today. And thank you to our downvoter. We appreciate your hate.
Because if nothing else, you've been consistent for a long time.
You've been one of
Consistency
our
is
most
key.
loyal, devout followers. And
Most
we really
devout
appreciate
downvoter
you.
we could ever have.
But yes, thank you so much, Matt, everyone in the chat. And this
You
is,
didn't mean to rhyme just then, did you?
I do this a lot where I don't mean to rhyme and then I rhyme. It happens more and more often. But
You're like ABJ with those bars, right?
exactly. But yes, thank you guys. And as always, lady, what? Ryan being Ryan in the chat. He's just being Ryan. But yes, he says, am I allowed to say this on a nice channel?
For you? Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't care what you say in the chat.
No, we really don't.
But anyways, everyone, you guys enjoy your Saturday. We'll be back with a review tomorrow. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. Even you, Ryan. All right.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Especially you.